In our video number 27 today, we will learn development experiences of India and a comparison with neighbors. Before we compare with our neighbors, let's discuss the development experiences. India's development experience. 1947, India attained its independence and chose the mixed economy, which is a combination of capitalist and the socialist economies. In 1950, the Planning Commission was set up, which set goals for the 5-year plans. So far, we have had 12 5-year plans. And today, this Planning Commission is otherwise called as Niti Aayog. In 1951, the first 5-year plan came out. The duration was 1951 to 1956. Further plans for second 5-year plan, third 5-year plan, and so on and so forth, they focused on the development of various sectors. In 1956, the Industrial Policy Resolution was introduced, otherwise called the IPR 1956, which classified the industries into 3 categories to encourage production. The small-scale industries promoted the rural development. The tariffs and quotas were imposed on the imported goods. In 1960s, Green Revolution was introduced that allowed the farmers to use the high-yielding variety seeds, chemical fertilizers and pesticides to increase the production. This Green Revolution was on a large basis which brought about self-sufficiency in our country. In 1991, the new economic policy was introduced, otherwise called NEP 1991, and it introduced liberalization, privatization, and globalization to accelerate the rate of growth and to create a more competitive environment and remove the barriers to entry and growth of firms. Liberalization was restrictions on the industries were relaxed or abolished. The industrial licensing was relaxed or abolished. Then privatization, the public sector units which were not doing well were disinvested, or a part of the public sector units were sold to the private sector. Private sector was given importance, and the withdrawal of government ownership took place, thereby encouraging the private sector. Globalization was a result of liberalization and privatization, which increased the interaction with the outside world. This increased the competition and tried to adopt various means to strengthen the domestic economy. To strengthen the domestic economy, nations formed global economic groupings. Some of the regional and global economic groupings are SAARC, or the South Asian Association of Regional Cooperation, set up in 1985. The member nations are Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, Maldives, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. European Union, otherwise called EU, is a political and economic union of 27 member countries in Europe. And ASEAN is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, set up in 1967, to accelerate the economic growth, social progress, and cultural development, and to promote peace and stability in the regions. It consists of 10 member nations. Then G8, the group of 8 industrialized nations. India became a member of the G8 in the year 2005. G20, 20 member nations, and BRICS. B stands for Brazil, R for Russia, I for India, C for China, and S for South Africa. India, Pakistan, and China have similar physical endowments, but they differ in political systems. India has the largest democracy of the world, plus liberal constitution. Pakistan has a militarist political power structure, and China has a command economy. But recently, Pakistan has started moving towards a democratic system and China towards more liberal economic restructuring. India, China, and Pakistan have similarities in their development strategies, and that is why we are going to learn India, China, and Pakistan in this particular chapter. Let's first look at some of the similarities. All the three nations started towards their development path at the same time. India and Pakistan attained their independence in the year 1947, while China became People's Republic of China in 1949. The first 5-year plan was introduced in India in 1951. In China, it was 1953 and Pakistan 1956. The economic reforms were introduced in India in 1991. In China, it was introduced in 1978, whereas in Pakistan, the economic reforms were introduced in 1988, which is today called the Mid-Term Development Plan. India and Pakistan adopted similar strategies like creating a large public sector, raising public expenditure on social development, etc. Till 1980s, all the three countries had similar growth rates and per capita income. Let's now look at the development path of China. Republic of China in 1949 became People's Republic of China, which brought the whole nation under one-party rule, and all sectors, enterprises and lands came under the government control. In 1958, Mao Zedong, or otherwise popularly known as Mao, introduced the GLF campaign, or the Great Leap Forward campaign, the aim of which was industrializing the country on a massive scale. Industries were set up in their backyards, and the rural commune system was introduced where people collectively cultivated lands. Here the lands were used to cultivate whatever the farmers wanted, but they could not own the lands. It belonged to the government, as we learnt over here. However, though the production was increased, this GLF faced a severe problem of drought, in which 30 million people died, and Russian professionals who had been sent to China to help in the industrialization process withdrew because of certain conflicts with China. However, in 1965, Mao introduced the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution, which was a socio-political movement to preserve the Chinese communism. However, it was a failure and led to massacres. And this also led to the closure of the educational institutions. So the students and the professors were sent to work and learn from the countryside. This also brought the economic activity to a great halt. However, China's present rapid industrial growth can be traced back to its reforms in 1978. And China introduced the reforms in phases. In the first phase, reforms were introduced or initiated in agriculture, foreign trade, and investment sectors. In agriculture, commune lands, which we saw over here, were divided into small plots, which were allocated to individual households, and they could grow whatever they wanted, but they could not own them. They were allowed to keep all the income after paying the stipulated taxes. In the later phase, reforms were initiated in the industrial sector. The private sector firms were allowed to produce goods. Similarly, the village enterprises, which were owned and operated by the local collectives, could produce the goods. Government-owned enterprises, what we call the public sector units, were known as state-owned enterprises, or SOEs. The public sector units were made to face competition. This is one good thing because the public sector units would not face a setback. Now, this phase also included something called dual pricing, that is, fixing prices in two different ways. There are farmers and the industrial units, which would require certain inputs and outputs. So, the farmers and the industrial units could buy and sell a fixed quantity of inputs and outputs on the basis of the prices that were fixed by the government. Now, the rest of the input and output could be bought and sold at the market prices. With the increase in the production, the percentage of goods transacted in the markets also increased. Now, in order to attract the foreign investors, special economic zones or SEZs were set up. Let's now look at the development path of Pakistan. Pakistan attained its independence in 1947, adopted the mixed economy as we learnt. Then it regulated its policy framework in the 1950s to 1960s. This policy was for import substitution based industrialization. The policy combined tariff protection for manufacturing consumer goods with direct import controls on competing imports. Green Revolution, just like India, led to mechanization and rise in food grain production due to increase in public investment in the areas of infrastructure. This also improved the agrarian structure. In 1970, nationalization of capital goods industries took place. However, in the 1970s and 1980s, there was a shift in the policy orientation when denationalization took place. This was to encourage the private sector. Pakistan received financial support from the Western nations and remittances from continuously increasing outflow of emigrants to the Middle East. This also helped the country in stimulating economic growth. In 1988, however, economic reforms were initiated in the country. Now, till here, everything was on par. All the three countries, India, China, and Pakistan, were on par with their economic reforms and per capita income. However, after the economic reforms were introduced in the three countries, the whole picture changed. So, how the development strategies help the countries to improve upon their economies, we are going to look at in the further videos.